What happens when your occupation makes it necessary to break the 24-hour cycle? For Ray Casillas, making the adjustment is a major factor in the performance of his job.
In a 24-hour period, we're always on, in some way, constant alert, you know, and you're always just a little bit conscious. You're aware of your surroundings, whether you're in bed or you're trying to take a nap or you're coming back from a call after hours, you know, and you're sitting back at the fire engine. You're still, that your mind is still, half of you is awake and the other half of you is trying to downshift some gears.
Shift workers who, again, work at night on call are an interesting group because they may not be called at night. The interesting thing is that if the worker knows he or she might be called, their sleep remains light. They do not get into the deeper stages of sleep, simply knowing this might happen.
Our circadian rhythms are not only responsible for when you go to sleep and when you wake up, but also for how well you perform during the day. This is because circadian rhythms also regulate your mental alertness. Most of us are more alert in the morning hours, between 9 and 10. Our lowest point is usually around 3 in the afternoon. Knowing when your alertness is at its peak and when it is at its lowest point is especially important for people who work in emergency services.
One of the things that I would think firefighters could be aware of is just the basic circadian rhythms themselves, such as the oscillation in mental alertness. I mean, in the afternoon hours, all of us are programmed to have a dip in mental alertness, roughly from about 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, it's at that point that they would need to be probably more vigilant in terms of answering a call. Sort of like drivers out on the street should strive to be more vigilant around 3 o'clock in the afternoon because you see a peak in accidents because of this lowered mental alertness. So if they can work with their circadian rhythms, if they can have a greater awareness of what those basic circadian rhythms are that can, you know, interact with their work, I think that would be important.
A typical day for Ray revolves around a normal daytime schedule, but because his job also requires him to be on call for emergencies, that schedule is usually disrupted.
So I get here about 7, so between 7 and 8, I'm either getting myself organized or getting information from my partner that's going off duty or the guy who's worked prior to me, and he gives me a rundown of how their day went. And then from about 8 to 9, we read memos, we talk about what's going on within the station or what's going on within the organization. From about 9 to 10, we do a station cleanup, and from 10 to 12, we either get ourselves organized and prepared to go train or get prepared for fire prevention or some class or some kind of public education demo that we might be doing. And then sometime between 11 and 12, we prepare lunch and eat lunch and try to take a nap, 10 to 15 minutes sometimes. Sometimes we sleep a little bit longer, but 10 to 15 minutes is optimum. So sometime between 1:30 and 2, we'll again get prepared and go out and continue on with the daily activities. Again, fire prevention, inspections, training, public education. Somewhere in there between our regular workday, which is 8 to 4, we'll obviously run calls, whatever they may be. And then from 4 to 6, we work out. 6 o'clock, we eat chow, we clean up, play a little bit of basketball after, and then about 8 o'clock, we start winding down and getting ready to hit the rack. And about 9 o'clock, 9:30, I'll be in bed and I'll read. I'll do some self-study or something. And about 10, 10:30, I'll turn my light out, and that's it. Maybe sleep all night, probably not. And then about 7 o'clock, get up and go home.
What Ray has just described is a typical ideal workday that is synchronized with his body's own natural circadian rhythms.